Wagwan, the people. Been researching a little bit about what happened in the beginning, basically ground zero, meaning that it had to start somewhere, right? So they say in 1492, the Moors were conquered, right? And when you hear Taj Tariq Bey, basically stating that, the Moors used to rule Europe from 711 to 1492. Now, I guess throughout the late years of 1491, they were getting rid of a lot of the Moorish influence around the world, right? But mainly Europe. Now, it was an invading force. It was an invading force from France. And the thing is that if nobody even realizes, when there's Spanish people and French people, they can actually speak the same language, right? They speak Latin, Moorish Latin, and they still speak it today. But the thing is that Christopher Columbus, who was part of the mariners, right? Were explorers, so they say. But a lot of the stuff, like a lot of the words that you hear in this, probably weren't invented until later on. Okay? But we're going to go over the document or the contract that was given to Christopher Columbus so that he could set up shop here in Turtle Island. Okay? So let's see what the document he was given.
Privileges and prerogatives granted by their Catholic Majesties to Christopher Columbus, 1492. Published by Avalon Project, Ferdinand and Elizabeth, by the grace of God, King and Queen of Castile, of Leon, of Aragon, of Sicily, of Granada, of Toledo, of Valencia, of Galicia, of Majorca, of Minorca, of Seville, of Sardinia, of Jaen, of Algarve, of Algeciras, of Gibraltar, of the Canary Islands, Count and Countess of Barcelona, Lord and Lady of Biscay and Molina.
Hold on, you heard Al Jazeera, right? Isn't Al Jazeera like a TV show right now, like a news channel?
Duke and Duchess of Athens and Neopatria, Count and Countess of Roussillon and Cerdagne, Marquis and Marchioness of Oristán and Gociano, and C. For as much of you, Christopher Columbus, are going by our command, with some of our vessels and men, to discover and subdue some islands and continent in the ocean, and it is hoped that by God's assistance, some of the said islands and continent in the ocean will be discovered and conquered by your means and conduct.
So basically, they're going to subdue and conquer islands in the ocean. So they have no clue what islands were in the ocean. Okay, no clue. They're just gonna, go look. So they say, right? Now, we were all told that Christopher Columbus was brought here by a Moor, right? One of his pilots for a ship. But it didn't say anything about him going to look for India. This is actually contract in 1492 for him to just go look.
Therefore it is but just and reasonable, that since you expose yourself to such danger to serve us, you should be rewarded for it. And we being willing to honor and favor you for the reasons aforesaid, our will is, that you, Christopher Columbus, after discovering and conquering the said islands and continent in the said ocean, or any of them, shall be our admiral of the said islands and continent you shall so discover and conquer.
Admiral. Okay, so any islands that he comes and he discovers, he's going to be the admiral, right? Now, there's two laws that are operating on the land, and they both come from Europe. One is Admiralty Military or Maritime Admiralty Military Tribunal, and that is the law of the ocean. Okay, the other one is the law of the land. Okay, that's common law.
And that you be our admiral, viceroy, and governor in them, and that for the future.
Admiral, viceroy, and governor. So we're gonna have to look up what a viceroy is. We know what a governor is, like a governor general, part of the military, right? We know what an admiral is. He is the head of the ship, like a captain, right? But a viceroy, I haven't heard that term before.
Future, you may call and style yourself D. Christopher Columbus, and that your sons and successors in the said employment may call themselves dons, admirals, viceroys, and governors of them.
So done, eh? Admiral, viceroys, and governors of them, you and your successors. So all his children, them are done. See? You ever heard the saying, done man, yo, you're done man in a blood clot.
Of them, and that you may exercise the office of admiral, with the charge of viceroy and governor of the said islands and continent, which you and your lieutenants shall conquer, and freely decide all causes, civil and criminal, appertaining to the said employment of admiral.
So there's two laws you could be charged by then: civil law and criminal law. Majority of the laws that have been against us would be criminal law, right? The what do you call it? We're going to go over the civil order that's been issued by the Pope, but you have to understand that this was given to Christopher Columbus by the Catholic Majesties, right? Let's see here.
Viceroy and governor, as you shall think fit in justice, and as the admirals of our kingdoms used to do, and that you have power to punish offenders, and you and your lieutenants exercise the employments of admiral, viceroy, and governor, in all things belonging to the said offices, or any of them, and that you enjoy the perquisites and salaries belonging to the said employments, and to each of them, in the same manner as the high admiral of our kingdoms does. And by this our letter, or a copy of it signed by a public notary, we command Prince John, our most dearly beloved son, the infants, dukes, prelate.
All right. Ooh, this N. Jones, peace, Grand Rise, Wagwan. Where Sabas? I'm just going over the contract that was given to Christopher Columbus. It's good to know like how these people basically came here and set up shop before they came here. Reason being is that these rules and regulations, as laws, acts, statutes, and all this kind of stuff is still governing us today, and basically has locked up a lot of our people. You know what I mean? And we're still dealing with the bullshit, because the thing is how can you come and say that you're discovering a land when there's already people here? It's like me coming to your house, stealing your car, right? Driving around in your car, and you just sitting there watching me going back and forth in your car. You know it's your car. Everybody knows it's your car, right? But I'm the one in control, right? You know what I mean? And basically, anytime you say cross the street, I'm gonna jump out put cuffs on you and lock you up for just basically going to your bathroom or going to your living room or just crossing the street, but it's still your house, your car. I came in, fucked your wife, raped your children, you know what I mean? And still going about business like everything's cool, everything's copacetic. You know what I'm saying? But it's still your car, your house, your wife, your children.
Prelates, marquises, great masters and military orders, priors. Commendaries, our counselors, judges, and other officers of justice whatsoever, belonging courts, and chancery, and constables of castles, strong houses, and others, and all corporations, bailiffs, governors, judges, commanders, sea officers, and the aldermen, common council, officers, and
So the aldermen, the officers, the sea chancellors. We're gonna rewind that a little bit. Who else is in? Let's see. Timbuk son. Wagwan. Big up. We are say. Ruler representative of a sovereign. All right. Respect. Wagwan. Now we're gonna go just back because basically there's a lot of titles that he can create on this land. Right?
And to each of them, in the same manner, he freely decide all causes, civil and criminal, appertaining to the said employment of admiral, viceroy, and governor, as you shall think fit in justice, and as the admirals of our kingdoms used to do, and that you have power to punish offenders, and you and your lieutenants exercise the employments of admiral, viceroy, and governor, in all things belonging to the said offices, or any of them, and that you enjoy the perquisites and salaries belonging to the said employments, and to each of them, in the same manner as the High Admiral of our kingdoms does. And by this our letter, or a copy of it signed by a public notary, we command Prince John.
So basically, a public notary is very, very important when it comes to dealing with any matters pertaining to law. Okay?
Our most dearly beloved son, the infants, dukes, prelates, marquises, great masters and military orders, priors.
Okay.
Commendaries, our counselors, judges, and other officers of justice whatsoever, belonging courts, and chancery, and constables of castles, strong houses, and others, and all corporations, bailiffs, governors, judges.
So all corporations. And you have to realize this was given to some guy. You know what I mean? I'm wondering if the Catholic Majesties basically just gave him like just everything. It's like, just go there. You know what? If you find anything, if you find anything, you can set up shop. You can basically create law offices. You can be the postmaster general. You could be the viceroy. You could be the governor general. You could be anything you want to be. You set up shop, just like here, how we come here and set up shop. You can do that wherever you find and discover. Now, the thing is, we have to understand also that these people were in balsa wood ships, okay, crossing a treacherous ocean. So it was pretty dangerous. This place, obviously, they say they didn't know it existed, okay? Remember, all of this was under the doctrine of discovery, and we'll go over that in another show. But yeah, you have to think to yourself, if you didn't know this place existed, right? But then when we start looking into other parts of history, when we start studying Bharat over there, they call India, which we're going to go to a document that shows that he actually is looking for India, right, and came and found India and found the Indians, because India wasn't called India, or Bharat wasn't called India until the British Raj, right? So, and that was in the 1800s, okay, 1860 something. I'd have to check the date, but a lot of these people also thought that the freaking Earth was flat, right? And if they sailed that way, they'll just fall into the ocean. Reason being is that people sailed that way before and never came back, right? Christopher Columbus did not, or Cristobal Colon did not actually discover this land. I think it was some dude named Vespucci or something like that. So this place could have been called Vespuccia instead of Colombia, right? And the reason why I say Colombia is that there is, you know, you have Colombia, right, where we all know it's just in the center, down above, it's at the top of South America, and then you go north and you go to Pennsylvania, where it is the District of Columbia, right? So still in control of Columbia. And then you go even north of that, you have British Columbia. So you have British Columbia, District of Columbia, and Columbia. So who's really still in control? The largest military in the world, which is Spain.
Judges, commanders, sea officers, and the aldermen, common council, officers, and good people of all cities, lands, and places in our kingdoms and dominions. And in those you shall conquer and subdue. And the captains, masters, mates, and other officers and sailors, our natural subjects now being, or that.
So he will conquer and subdue anyone of city council, governors, generals, doesn't, you name it. This dude is given the authority by the Catholic Majesties to not only set up shop, but to conquer and subdue, right? All good people. So there was an agenda straight to basically kick your ass and make you his bitch. Okay? Let's see what's going on here. Directed to Columbia, Washington, D.C., 10 minutes from me. Yes. N. Jones, 10 minutes. Yes. The District of Columbia. We're also going to go into the square, okay, area of the District of Columbia, and why Benjamin Banneker. I keep asking, why did Benjamin Banneker design Washington, D.C. to harness spiritual energy? That's the only question, because I read that in the document. Why? This is like some hobby shit. This is some voodoo shit. You know what I mean? And we know that when Haiti was in war against France and all England and all those military mites, they were dropping some serious magic. You know what I mean? So I guess you could say that, you know, design everything is in or for design, right? We have what do you call it? I think it was in, what was it? The Million Man March, and then 2 million people showed up, right? And the thing is, you have 2 million people in one freaking place, and nothing fucking happened. Not a freaking thing happened. It's like they all showed up, and they were drained. That big huge dick they call an obelisk basically just drained all their spirits. You know what I mean? Because everybody just went home all, okay, that was great. That was fantastic. You know, we all showed up, 2 million of us, you know. That was the time when, what do you call it? The government basically see that shit. That's a lot of niggas. We better create some policies to lock most of them up because we don't want that shit to happen again, right? You know what I mean? Straight. Big up, big up, big up. Let's see. By an American Indian Star, Wagwan. Let's see. That was planned by the gatekeepers that took us. That talk like us. That's what they supposed to happen. Nothing. Yeah, I guess so. It's just like the largest standing army in the modern day society, NFAC, just walking down the street, marching. And why did we just march? That's all. It's just marching. You know what I mean? Like, there's always a march. We're gonna march peacefully. We're gonna march with weapons. We're gonna march to Capitol Hill. We're gonna just march, 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 march. Well, you know what? Beware the Ides of March. You ever heard that saying? Beware. Nothing's really gonna fucking happen. Or you might get stabbed in the back like Caesar, right? Let's continue because basically we just want to go through this. I don't want to spend too much time on the situation at hand, just so that we can get through it because it's just a short document, but we're going to show. I'm here to show that basically these documents that were so-called created in 1492 and 1494 are documents that are forever, ever. You know what I mean?
It shall be for the time to come, and any of them that when you shall have discovered the said islands and continent in the ocean, and you, or any that shall have your commission, shall have taken the usual oath in such cases, that they for the future look upon you as long as you live, and after you, your son and heir, and so from one heir to another forever, as our admiral on our said ocean, and as viceroy and governor of the said islands and continent, by you, Christopher Columbus, discovered and conquered, and that they treat you and your lieutenants, by you appointed, for executing the employments of admiral, viceroy, and governor, as such in all respects.
You did hear that, right? Forever. Let's go back. Forever.
Cities, lands, and places in our kingdoms and dominions, and in those you shall conquer and subdue. And the captains, masters, mates, and other officers and sailors, our natural subjects now being, or that shall be for the time to come, and any of them that when you shall have discovered the
Wagwan Lakono, respect.
Shall have discovered the said islands and continent in the ocean, and you, or any that shall have your commission, shall have taken the usual oath in such cases, that they for the future.
And remember, an oath. An oath is a careless vow to a deity. That's what an oath is. So when you're taking an oath, always ask, which deity am I taking an oath to? Do you see what I mean?
Look upon you as long as you live, and after you, your son and heir, and so from one heir to another.
So basically, it's a dictatorship. Okay, it's a dictatorship, straight up. Okay, it's a hypothecation. That means I just come here, take your shit, do whatever the frick I want, and I'm the ruler now. Right? I can do whatever I want. 500 freaking years later, it's forever. So when people want to tell me, oh, all you have to do is just work a little harder, just if you have if you went to school, right, which I did, I worked really hard. I worked my ass off. I don't know why, because basically I should have listened to my grade 2 teacher, and my grade 2 teacher told me, Terrence, you're not going to amount to shit, so don't even bother. And that's the truth. It was the whole truth. I should have just listened to her, and I did. I was like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? And then after I was thinking, what the Ross am I listening to this white woman for? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna amount to shit. Of course I'm gonna be somebody. And we're here trying so hard to be somebody, right? And then you try hard in school and you pass what do you call it, elementary school and junior high and high school, and then you get out of high school, and I was thinking to myself, you know what, all I want to do is get a job, because basically I'm seeing a lot of these people, they have like engineering degrees, and they have what do you call it, they used to be like mechanics and all this kind of stuff. And what are they doing? Oh, they're working at Safeway. Oh, you're an engine. You were an engineer. You went to school for engineering, and now you work at freaking a grocery store. Damn. What's the point of me freaking going to any other higher education if all I'm going to do is end up at a grocery store or end up as a laborer? But I have a super high education. You know what I mean? And I started realizing, okay, the educational system is actually run by a billionaire named the Rothschilds, and he controls everything. And all your birth certificate and your social insurance number, your social security number is actually connected to your educational system, so that he can actually own your intellectual property. Pretty freaking smart.
Forever, as our admiral on our said ocean.
There we go.
For the future, look upon you as long islands and continent in the ocean.
Forever.
And you, or any that shall have your commission, shall have taken the usual oath in such cases, that they for the future, look upon you as long as you live, and after you, your son and heir, and so from one heir to another forever, as our admiral on our said ocean,
forever.
And as viceroy and governor of the said islands and continent, by you, Christopher Columbus, discovered and conquered. And that they treat you and your lieutenants, by you appointed, for executing the employments of admiral, viceroy, and governor, as such in all respects, and give you all the perquisites and other things belonging and appertaining to the said offices, and allow, and cause to be allowed you, all the honors, graces, concessions, preeminences, prerogatives, immunities, and other things, or any of them which are due to you, by virtue of your
immunities. So that's why you can't sue the crown. That's why they can fuck you and basically just say, you know what, maybe if you just tighten your cheeks, doo-doo won't fall out. Don't worry about it. Go about your business. See ya, little niggers. Damn. Immunities.
Commands of admiral, viceroy, and governor, and to be observed completely, so that nothing be diminished, and that they make no objection to this, or any part of it, nor suffer it to be made. For as much as we from this time.
You heard that, right? You have no objections. Because this is forever. This is a contract that's been made, not on this land, but somewhere else. You see? Makes you think. We wonder why we're going through all this bullshit. We wonder why certain organization is actually still running, because they're still sucking the dick. And other organizations that are actually independent, let's see, like the UNIA, one of the largest independent organizations. I thought this was an independent country. No, it actually isn't an independent country. It's a dictatorship that's pretending to be an independent country. Oh, we're fighting against the people we came from so that we can continue on our slave narrative. We want to be independent. Well, from learning grammar or syntax grammar, you realize that a vowel before a consonant actually cancels out the word. So no dependent. We're not dependent. Okay, so we're not dependent on what? We're not dependent on the Catholic Majesties, or are they still the one running the show behind the scenes, and you can't say shit because this contract was forever, and in order for you to even be here on this soil, you have to go through that contract and make sure that the heirs and successors. I wonder why certain businesses are still open and other businesses are closed. Could it be because a lot of them are families to these viceroys and these lords and these generals and these people of nobility that still hold power for the 500 years that's been continuing, and they recruit your children after mind manipulation, because MK Ultra is a thing. It was the largest experiment that's ever happened in Canada. I don't know. Something didn't click right to me. I just knew something was wrong. So basically, I just didn't pay attention. You know what I mean? When I was watching TV, I knew it was just TV. It was fake. Nothing was real. I never, when I was listening to music, I never emulated my rap fan like stardom. You know what I'm saying? Even when I was in the movie industry, like I met Snoop Dogg, and when I first met him, I treated him just like I would treat any old whoever. It wasn't like, oh my God, it's Snoop Dogg, wow, like, oh, man, you're awesome, man. Like, it's like Wagwan boss. Where I said, treat him just like everybody else. I'll tell you that story another time. But let's get through this, yeah?
As we from this time forward, by this our letter, bestow on you the employments of Admiral, Viceroy, and Perpetual Governor forever. And we put you into possession of the said offices, and of every of them, and full power to use and exercise them, and to receive the perquisites and salaries belonging to them, or any of them, as was said above. Concerning all which things, if it be requisite, and you shall desire it, we command our Chancellor, notaries, and other officers, to pass, seal, and deliver to you our letter of privilege in such form and legal manner.
So I wonder that's why you have to get your documents notarized before you even go to the court, because now you're getting like a hall pass permission or privilege, stating that you have a stamp of approval. Yes.
As you shall require or stand in need of, and that none of them presume to do anything to the contrary, upon pain of our displeasure, and forfeiture of 30 ducats for each offense.
30 ducats?
And
30 ducats! We should check out the calculation of 30 ducats. Because if they're displeased with anything, all I have to do is basically bring 30 ducats.
And we command him, who shall show them this our letter, that he summon them to appear before us at our court, where we shall then be, within 15 days after such summons.
You hear that, right? Summons. Summons. Where did I hear summons? If I summons you to court, where did I hear that? Summons you to court. If I summons you to court. Poltergeist. Don't you guys remember Poltergeist? You remember Poltergeist? Where, you summon the spirit. Arise! Arise! Isn't that what the judge says before he walks in there, naked under the robe? All rise, raising the dead. Raising the dead!
Summons, under the said penalty. Under which same, we also command any public notary whatsoever, that he give to him that shows it him, a certificate under his seal, that we may know how our command is obeyed. Given at Granada, on the 30th of April, in the year of our Lord, 1492. I, the King, I, the Queen. By their Majesties' command, John Coloma, Secretary to the King and Queen. Entered according to order, Roderick, Dr. Sebastian Dolona, Francis de Madrid, Councilors, registered.
Okay. So, as we can see, Mr. Cristobal Colon was given a contract to go into the ocean and subdue and conquer. He didn't trip and discover this place. Meaning, he didn't just, he knew. They obviously knew that this place existed. Reason being is that the Moors, who was running Europe at the time, knew about this place, knew of its existence, always probably did trade with it. Who was before? Mansa Musa. Mansa Musa from Mali sent out tons and tons of ships. And he loved this place. Came and traded with this place, yeah? And we see how the buildings over in Mali still are, right? We have the Canadian government still occupying the Mali, right? We don't hear nothing too much about that because, the media, my little devils, do not really wish to put any eyes on a situation that is touchy. Yes? So we now know that there was a contract. This is basically one of the most interesting history classes that anybody's ever gone through, because you get my little snippets and opinions on certain things. Right? Because it makes you think, right? That we've been taught all this shit saying that, we've been taught all this stuff saying that, oh, Christopher Columbus just sailed the ocean blue and he discovered this place, and they still have a statue of him in Jamaica, right? Like he was some great dude. Oh, and he went there and he slaughtered off all the native inhabitants of the island. He just murdered everyone. Really? Really? If in 1730s, right, when they brought Cujo and the what do you call it? The Negroes from they brought them from Africa. I'm not even calling them slaves because Slavs are Slovenians. The first slaves were basically Caucasians from Europe, because I know for a fact they couldn't handle us as so-called slaves. Slavery's only been for what? Maybe 200 years, I would say. Maybe 150. And it wasn't even really slavery. It was probably more disrespect. Because a lot of, if you haven't read the uprising or the slave uprising and shit like that, the slave masters were actually disemboweled, took their intestines and hung them from trees. Why did they hang them from trees? You ever seen Revenant? Revenant, it was like they were getting surrounded by Indians, right? And Buddy's like, man, we're surrounded by tree niggas. And I was like, what did you just say? We're surrounded by tree niggas. Like, tree niggas? What? And then after I thought to myself, let me put two and two together when I go into history and I read about this and I read about that, that the Continental Congress actually had a flag and the flag had a tree on it. And it was a red flag with a green tree on the left-hand corner, and that was the Continental Congress. So the Continental Congress dealt with the continent from Arctic to Antarctic under the Treaty of Tordesillas, Turtle Island or Tortoise Isles. So who's the Congress that we got now? Oh, it's a little offshoot of the same individuals that did not want to stop the whole massacring and disrespect of people. They wanted to continue on the sharecropping and the whole slavery narrative, and actually they had a group of sympathizers or allies, as it were, to the continuation of the bullshit. So I would like to enter into the documentation, 1494. That's 2 years later. So after he came here, he said he came here and he massacred all the people on the island, right? Now, if you go to Jamaica and you try to actually go into the interior of Jamaica, we still have roads that just drop off to a cliff, eh? And I've seen the British, obviously, let's just say the military might of the British was more advanced than 1492. And this was in the 1700s. And they couldn't even defeat the Maroons. And the Maroons allied with the Indians that were in the interior. And who were the Indians? The Taínos. And who were the Taínos? The Aztecs. The Aztecs from Tenochtitlan. Isn't that how you pronounce the pyramids in Mexico? That's what that area was. Tenochtitlan. That's where you get the Taínos from. Because that island has some kind of significant representative, right? Representation. Now, you have, he said he came there and he massacred all the Indians and he raped and pillaged with all his men and all this kind of stuff. Well, there's documents of him stealing children. So I guess this documentation that says that it was forever, that whole forever thing would be a representation of him probably being a vampire, because I'll show you a picture of Christopher Columbus and his hands are his fingers are just a little too long. You know what I'm saying? And he looks like a vampire. He probably, and we still hear about rabbis, stealing children because we're known as Goyim, right? And then they sacrifice the children. And then you hear about Bohemian Grove with all those rich elites going there, sacrificing children. And then you hear CERN and the Hadron Collider. And what are they doing? They're sacrificing children to their deity. And then you know that in Rome, their deity would be the Capitolian wolf, and their sky daddy is Jupiter, and what do you call it? Their sky mama is Minerva or Juno, and then we have the Juno Awards in in Canada, and then we have Jupiter as the sky daddy for the Romans. That's the Roman god, and they all seek or want sacrifice of little children. Sick fucks. So let's go and see what the treaty between Spain and Portugal, right, concluding in Tordes. Doesn't that sound? That's tortoise. Isles. Illas. Tordesillas. We said a Tordesillas. Remember, I said that the king was an inbred because, you know, they slept with their mamas and their cousins and their sisters and shit like that and breed it up. They wanted to keep the bloodline pure. Most royals are inbreds anyway because they want to keep the bloodline pure. Pure. We still have Hutterites and, Amish and shit like that. They still do the same shit. You got Spanish. You got certain Negroes too who like to touch little children, and a lot of Africans. They just can't stay away from the freaking kids. Middle Eastern, holy shit. Middle Eastern, their rules are so strict that they can't have sex before they're married, or unless they have what do you call those prearranged marriage, right? That you have groups of men chilling together, and they will dress up a little boy to pretend to be a woman and dance around, and then basically lay with them, sleep with them. Lot of homosexuality in the Middle East. A lot in Asia, a lot in India, a lot in Africa, Europe, America. Shit, this place is a cesspool now. This world is everybody thinks, oh, this place is not going to be destroyed by water anymore. No, we're going to fly the gay flag. They're not going to destroy it. Yeah, no. The rainbow represents the not to be destroyed by water. It's going to be purified by fire. Well, let's do some science, shall we? And realize that H2O is hydrogen and oxygen. Hydrogen is flammable. So, oh shit. What's going on here? Fire, fire, fire. Yeah. Lakota, yes. We still in slavery? Yes, we are still in slavery. Fact, that's right. Time for a reset? Oh, that's what the global elites would like. A reset. First, everybody likes to use that word, reset, right? We'll look that up and see the etymology of reset. On your mark, get set, go. It's still a fucking race. And there's only one race on the planet. Because if I can breed with an Asian, or breed with a European, or breed with African, or breed with Negro, it does still breed, right? Doesn't matter what hue of color comes out. Anybody ever knew that Hugh was a deity in Rome or in Egypt? He was a goat. Was it a goat or a bull? He had a deity who spoke the words into existence, and that's Hu, the god. He was a god, a deity in Egypt. Go look it up. Sun Ra taught me that one. But yeah, let's see, right? After Christopher Columbus came out and he so-called massacred everybody because there's nobody left. There's nobody left, nobody left over in those islands because Christopher Columbus was such a tyrant and he was such a man of stature that he murdered the whole island. Really? Really? You ever dealt with Jamaicans? We're really nice. We're really loving, caring. We'll take care of you, no? We are very loving, caring people. But there's one thing. You take the act of kindness for weakness. And then we cut your blood clot. You by a fucking tree. See? Because then we don't feel no way. But to say that they came to the island and murdered everybody and this and that, like, come on, man. Like, it's just stupidity. Just pure freaking. Let's read documents. Let's read treaties. Let's read the stuff that basically shows that this man created the first colony on the island of Xaymaca. Xaymaca. Type that in, you can look it up. That was what it was called, Xaymaca. And then he created the colony of Santiago, Saint Diego. Now, Saint Diego, Santiago or Saint Diego, when you look that up, he was the first Aztec or Taino to convert to Catholicism, because that's what the contract says. The contract says he was supposed to go out, conquer, and subdue, right? That was the first contract, right? But then when you read the Treaty of Tordesillas, he's supposed to convert, right? Because really, when you come to a place and they say that we were such savages, the British, the Dutch, the French were savages, right? Savages. Okay, so if we're such savages, why does the Spanish note say that we're the most advanced civilization on the face of the planet? Advanced on the face of the planet. The builders. Then you read certain notes again, right? Go this way. Get some more light in here. Then you read the notes again, and you see in what do you call it? In Bharat. I'm calling it Bharat because that's what the name is. In India, they call it India now, right? And the reason why they call it India, because after the British Raj, those Hindus basically now can come here and get Indian status and Indian rights. See? Isn't that funny? Right? They're good slaves. They're very good slaves. Because they will do right by their masters. They won't uprise. And anybody who ever deal with them, them skin soft, them blood clot soft and everything like that. Feel we hard. We hard. Let's see what the Treaty of Tordesillas says.
Treaty between Spain and Portugal concluded at Tordesillas, June 7, 1494. Published by Avalon Project. Don Ferdinand and Dona Isabella, by the grace of God, King
And the reason why I go to Avalon Project, right, is because it is Yale University. It is the top law university. So all those lawyers and judges and what do you call it, lawmen. This is where, if you want to know law, this is where you basically go to find out all these documents that has been around since 44 BC, like the Treaty of Hammurabi, right? They got even Caesar's treaty in there. You know what I mean? Like the stuff that pertains to them. So they all know who your Rasclat is. They all know who you are. They've known the whole time. Locking your ass up, you going there, you basically becoming a ward of the court. A ward of the court meaning that you are a minor, someone who cannot handle their own affairs, so that therefore you become a child. A child of the court can be dealt with how they like to deal with children. Since they like to fuck children, they'll fuck you.
King and Queen of Castile, Leon, Aragon, Sicily, Granada, Toledo, Valencia.
And I want you to actually listen to the titles, okay? Listen to the titles, because you'll realize in certain documents, and there's another document that basically I'll go over, and it is the conclusion, the second conclusion, right? Because it's funny. This is how treacherous and how backstabbing the Spanish king was. He basically backstabbed his own brother, who was in Portugal or Portugala, like Gala oranges. Portugala means orange, right? So under the Treaty of Tordesillas, under the House of Orange, okay? You'll see how he basically got, remember, it was the invasion force from the north that came down into Spain or Andalusia and conquered the Moors and chased them down into the Ghanaian Empire, right? Chased them down across back to Africa. Now the thing is that Spain and Portugal is like this. It's only 9 miles away. And when you see the running, what's that one where those guys, they run, they do the triathlon and stuff like that. They swim more than 9 miles. So you can stand on one end of Africa and on a clear day see Spain on the other side. So Europe is Northern Africa. You're all Northern Africans. You like to pretend, oh, we're Europeans. We're more refined. No, you're basically African albinos.
Galicia y Majorca.
And that's Francis Quest Welsing's research.
Seville, Sardinia, Cordova, Corsica, Murcia, Jaén, Algarve, Algeciras, Gibraltar, and the Canary Islands. Count and Countess of Barcelona, Lord and Lady of Biscay and Molina, Duke and Duchess of Athens and Neopatras, Count and Countess of Roussillon and Cerdagne, Marquis and Marchioness of Oristano and Gociano, together with the Prince Don John, our very dear and very beloved firstborn son, heir of our aforesaid kingdoms and lordships. Whereas by Don Enrique Enriquez, our chief steward, Don Gutierre de Cardenas, chief commissary of Leon, our chief auditor, and Dr. Rodrigo Maldonado, all members of our council, it was treated, adjusted, and agreed for us and in our name and by virtue of our power with the most serene Dom John, by the grace of God, King of Portugal and of the Algarves on this side and beyond the sea. And
does anybody remember Hawaii 5-0? Was it Hawaii 5-0 with Don John? Remember back in the day, they used to roll up their sleeves. They'd be in suits and roll up their sleeves.
Sea in Africa, Lord of Guinea. Our very dear and very beloved brother, and with Rui de Souza, Lord of Sagres and Berenguel, Dom João de Souza, his son, Chief Inspector of Weights and Measures of the said Most Serene King our brother, and heir.
Chief Inspectors of Weights and Measures. So if you ever want to find out anything, look up the international, what is it? International Forum for Weights and Measures, something like that. It's like something for weights and measures, international. I'll find it and pass it on. But anything you want to look up for dealing with weights and measures.
Ernesto Almada, magistrate of the civil cases in his court and member of his desembargo, all members of the council of the aforesaid Most Serene King our brother, and acting in his name and by virtue of his power. His ambassadors, who came to us in regard to the controversy over what part belongs to us and what part to the said Most Serene King our brother, of that which up to this 7th day of the present month of June, the date of this instrument, is discovered in the ocean sea, in which said agreement our aforesaid representatives promised among other things that within a certain term specified in it we should sanction, confirm, swear to, ratify, and approve the above-mentioned agreement in person. We, wishing to fulfill and fulfilling all that which was thus adjusted, agreed upon, and authorized in our name in regard to the above-mentioned, ordered the said instrument of the aforesaid agreement and treaty to be brought before us that we might see and examine it, the tenor.
So there was a treaty. There was a treaty that was brought before them. As you can hear, it is the Treaty of Tortoise Isles. You talking about Tortoise Isles? Is that what it is called? Tortoise Isles? And then the English would call it Turtle Island. But it doesn't look like a turtle island anymore, does it? And I will get to that after.
Of which, word for word, is as follows. In the name of God Almighty, Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, three truly separate and distinct persons and only one divine essence.
Three. Is it three? 1, 2, 3? Or is it 0, 1, 2, 3? 0, 1, 2, 3. Never forget 0, right? 3 separate and divine persons. I want everybody to go look up etymology and see what persons is. Or you can actually go on the UCC and see what the definition for persons is. And see if the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost is actually spiritual, because spirit means breath, entities, or are they just divine persons, meaning divine corporations set by the Majesties?
It manifest and known to all who shall see this public instrument, that at the village of Tordesillas, on the 7th day of the month of June, in the year of the nativity of our Lord Jesus Christ 1494.
Hold on for a second. In the year of our Lord Jesus Christ 1494, I thought the letter J did not exist until 400 years. And that would be in the 1500s?
In the presence of us, the secretaries, clerks, and notaries public subscribed below, there being present the Honorable Don Enrique Enriquez, Chief Steward of the very exalted and very mighty princes, the Lord and Lady Don Ferdinand and Dona Isabella, by the grace of God King and Queen of Castile, Leon, Aragon, Sicily, Granada, etc., Don Gutierre de Cardenas, Chief Auditor of the said Lords, the King and Queen, and Dr. Rodrigo Maldonado, all members of the Council of the said Lords, the King and Queen of Castile, Leon, Aragon, Sicily, Granada, etc., their qualified representatives of the one part, and the Honorable Rui de Souza, Lord of Sagres and Berenguel, Don Juan de Souza, his son, Chief Inspector of Weights and Measures of the very exalted and very excellent Lord Dom John, by the grace of God King of Portugal and of the Algarves on this side and beyond the sea in Africa, Lord of Guinea, and heirs de Almada, magistrate of civil cases in his court and member of his desembargo, all of the council of the said Lord King of Portugal, and his qualified ambassadors and representatives, as was proved by both the said parties by means of the letters of authorization and procurations from the said lords their constituents, the tenor of which, word for word, is as follows. Here follow the full powers granted by Ferdinand and Isabella to Don Enrique Enriquez, Don Gutierre de Cardenas, and Dr. Rodrigo Maldonado on June 5, 1494, and the full powers granted by John II to Rui de Souza, João de Souza.
Full powers granted by John II, and that would have been the King of Italy.
De Souza, and heirs Almada on March 8, 1494. Thereupon it was declared by the above-mentioned representatives of the aforesaid King and Queen of Castile, Leon, Aragon, Sicily, Granada, etc., and of the aforesaid King of Portugal and the Algarves, etc. That, whereas a certain controversy exists between the said lords, their constituents, as to what lands, of all those discovered in the ocean sea up to the present day, the date of this treaty, pertain to each one of the said parts respectively. Therefore, for the sake of peace and concord, and for the preservation of the relationship and love of the said King of Portugal for the said King and Queen of Castile.
So the treaty was signed before 1494. So in 1492, right, he came and actually met with viceroys and lords and governor generals, and so there actually was a civilization here before operating on this land that that was actually organized and centralized. So the Treaty of Tordesillas was the one that they were going through to basically see what part that they could have between her and her brother in Portugal, right? But I thought the place was called Andalusia. Oh, they got together and split it up after they kicked the ass of the Moors. Okay.
Aragon, etc., it being the pleasure of their highnesses, they, their said representatives, acting in their name and by virtue of their powers herein described, covenanted and agreed that a boundary or straight line be determined and drawn north and south, from pole to pole, on the said ocean sea, from the Arctic to the Antarctic pole.
Arctic to Antarctic.
This boundary or line shall be drawn straight, as aforesaid, at a distance of 370 leagues west of the Cape Verde Islands, being calculated by degrees, or by any other manner as may be considered the best and readiest, provided the distance shall be no greater than above said. And all lands, both islands and mainlands, found and discovered already, or to be found and discovered hereafter, by the said King of Portugal and by his vessels on this side of the said line and bound determined as above, toward the east, in either north or south latitude, on the eastern side of the said bound provided the said bound is not crossed, shall belong to, and remain in the possession of, and pertain forever to, the said King of Portugal and his successors. And all other lands, both islands and mainlands, found or to be found hereafter, discovered or to be discovered hereafter, which have been discovered or shall be discovered by the said King and Queen of Castile, Aragon, etc., and by their vessels, on the western side of the said bound, determined as above, after having passed the said bound toward the west, in either its north or south latitude, shall belong to, and remain in the possession of, and pertain forever to, the said King and Queen of Castile, Leon, etc., and to their successors. 2. Item. The said representatives promise and affirm by virtue of the powers aforesaid, that from this date no ships shall be dispatched namely as follows. The said King and Queen of Castile, Leon, Aragon, etc., for this part of the bound, and its eastern side, on this side the said bound, which pertains to the said King of Portugal and the Algarves, etc., nor the said King of Portugal.
So you do realize that the whole world was split into two. Anything on the west side or the east side belongs to Portugal. Anything on the west side belongs to Spain. So the world was split into two. Anything on the east side, so basically all of Africa, Asia, Europe, Middle East, but what do you call it, China, Japan, all belong to Portugal, right? Or the Portuguese. Anything on the other side belongs to Spain. And that's why you have so many military bases on American soil, hundreds of them. You see? At the moment, I'm going to have to bid you adieu because I have to go to work. There will be a part 2 where we will start this all over again, right? And we'll just focus on this treaty. Okay? Thank you very much. Respect everybody for coming out. Love y'all.